You ever have one of those days where you feel untouchable? Not because you're arrogant or because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you've finally done the work. You've put in the decades. You've endured the no's. You've outlasted the people who looked at you like you were invisible in your own neighborhood. And you finally feel like you've earned your seat at the table. That was Elena Vance on a Tuesday afternoon in the town of Oakhaven. Elena wasn't just a woman in a dark blue SUV. She was a 54-year-old federal judge who had spent the better part of 15 years presiding over the kind of cases that keep people up at night: securities fraud, civil rights violations, the heavy stuff. She was the daughter of a librarian and a mechanic, a woman who clawed her way from a public defender's office to the federal bench through sheer, unadulterated grit. But to Officer Travis Miller, she was just a target. The dashboard camera was already rolling when Miller spotted her. She was cruising down Riverstone Drive at exactly 4:12 p.m. It's one of those beautiful, tree-lined streets where the sunlight filters through the oaks and everything feels safe. Elena was thinking about dinner, maybe some sea bass, a glass of Chardonnay. She was thinking about the fraud case she'd just closed. She wasn't thinking about the speedometer. She was doing 38 in a 35, 3 miles over. In Oakhaven, that's not even a conversation. That's a have a nice day. But Miller, he saw something else. He saw a woman who didn't fit his internal map of who belonged behind the wheel of a luxury SUV in that zip code. The lights hit her rearview mirror like a physical punch. Elena felt that flutter in her chest. You know the one. Even when you've done nothing wrong, the sight of those blue and reds makes your blood run cold. She pulled over, slow and steady. She put the car in park, hands on the wheel at 10 and 2. She knew the protocol better than the man behind her. Miller approached the window, hand resting on his service weapon. First red flag. "License and registration, now," Miller barked. No hello, no do you know why I pulled you over, just cold, hard authority. Elena looked at him, really looked at him. He was younger than her, eyes hidden behind silver aviators, jaw set like he was heading into a war zone instead of a traffic stop. "Good afternoon, officer," Elena said, her voice like velvet, calm but firm. "May I ask why I was stopped?" "I don't recall asking you a question," Miller snapped, leaning into her space, the smell of cheap coffee and stale tobacco drifting into the car. "Keep your hands where I can see them, or we're gonna have a real problem today." Elena didn't argue. She reached for her wallet, pulled out her license, and handed it over. Tucked right behind the plastic window was her official federal judicial designation, its gold embossed, unmistakable. Miller looked at it for 5 seconds, 10. His thumb rubbed over the title, Honorable Elena Vance, U.S. District Court. He didn't soften. He didn't apologize. He looked back at her, and his lip curled. "You expect me to believe this is real." Elena felt a spark of something bitter in her throat. The old Elena, the girl who was bullied for her thick glasses and her proper English, wanted to scream. But the judge just blinked. "It is quite real, Officer Miller, and if you'd like to verify it, I suggest you call your supervisor." "Step out of the vehicle," Miller said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Now." "Officer, I haven't been drinking. I've been entirely cooperative." She stepped out into the humidity. She saw the eyes of her neighbors. She saw Mr. Thorne across the street, pausing with his hedge trimmers. She felt the humiliation starting to burn in her cheeks. "I smell marijuana," Miller lied. He said it so casually, like he was commenting on the weather. Elena's heart skipped. "That's impossible. I don't use, and I don't allow it in my vehicle. You have no probable cause to search this car." "Turn around. Hands on the hood. Spread 'em." Imagine it. You spend your day deciding the fate of corporations and criminals. You wear the robe. You hold the gavel. And in the span of 3 minutes, you're face down on the hot metal of your own car, feeling the grit of the road against your palms, while a man with a badge and a grudge searches your pockets. Miller wasn't looking for drugs. He was looking for a way to break her. He patted her down, his hands lingering longer than necessary, his voice mocking her in her ear. "Not so honorable now, are we, Elena?" He started tossing her car, her leather briefcase, her notes on a landmark environmental case, her reading glasses, all of it thrown onto the asphalt like trash. "You're making a serious mistake, Officer Miller," Elena said, her voice shaking, not with fear, but with a cold, righteous fury. "Yeah, I hear that a lot," Miller laughed, "usually from people on their way to the county lockup." By the time the backup arrived, 2 more cars, sirens screaming, Riverstone Drive looked like a crime scene. Sergeant Vance Holloway stepped out, looking confused. He saw Elena in handcuffs, hair disheveled, standing on the sidewalk while her neighbors filmed from their porches. "Miller, what the hell is this?" Holloway asked, looking at the dark blue SUV torn apart. "Uncooperative suspect, Sarge. Smells like a grow-up in there. She's claiming she's a judge to get out of the ticket." Holloway walked over to the foot of the car, picked up the license Miller had tossed aside. He read the name. He looked at Elena, then he looked at Miller. You could see the color drain from Holloway's face. He knew Elena Vance. He'd testified in her courtroom 3 years ago. "Miller, uncuff her, right now." "Sarge, she was resisting." "I said uncuff her." Holloway's voice echoed down the street. But the damage was done. The metal had already clicked. The record was already created. Elena Vance didn't just walk away. She looked Miller dead in the eye, her voice regaining that terrifying judicial weight. "Officer Miller, I hope you kept your body camera on, because you are going to need every second of that footage to explain to a jury why you thought a 3-mile over-speeding stop required a roadside strip search." The city of Oakhaven tried to bury it, of course. They offered a quiet settlement, a few $1,000s, a non-disclosure agreement, a misunderstanding on the record. Elena laughed. She didn't want the money, she wanted the truth. She hired the most aggressive civil rights firm in the state, and during discovery, they hit the motherlode. It turns out Travis Miller had a pattern. The personnel files showed 7 complaints in 3 years, all from minority drivers, all alleging the same thing. "I smell marijuana," as a pretext for an illegal search. But the department had overlooked it. They liked his high arrest numbers. They liked that he was tough. Then came the text messages. On a private group chat with 3 other officers, Miller sent a photo of a high-end house in Oakhaven 6 months before the stop. His caption? "Look at this place. I bet I can guess which diversity hire lives here. Can't wait to run their plates." He was hunting. He had been hunting Elena before he even knew her name. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The courtroom was packed. Miller sat at the defense table, his aviators gone, looking like a small, frightened boy in a suit that didn't fit. Elena took the stand. She didn't talk about the law. She talked about the feeling of the pavement on her hands, the feeling of her neighbors watching her be reduced to a suspect. She talked about how justice isn't just a word on a building, it's a promise, and when that promise is broken by the people sworn to protect it, the price is higher than any city can afford. When the defense attorney tried to suggest she was argumentative, Elena simply leaned into the microphone. "Counselor, I am a judge. I spend my life listening to arguments. I know the difference between a citizen defending their rights and a criminal avoiding the law. Your client, however, doesn't seem to know the difference between a badge and a bullies club." $920,000 in damages. But the money wasn't the victory. The victory was the sound of Miller's career ending. He was terminated before the ink on the verdict was dry. His certification was revoked. He'll never wear a badge again. Sergeant Holloway was demoted for failing to supervise. The chief of police retired early to spend more time with his family. Oakhaven had to implement a mandatory independent civilian oversight board, and every single traffic stop now has to be reviewed by a third-party auditor if a search is conducted. Elena Vance went back to the bench, but she was different. She was sharper.
She started asking deeper questions when officers testified in her court. She became the champion for the people who don't have a federal ID in their wallet, the people who get searched and have no way to fight back. So, $920,000, nearly $1 million of taxpayer money. That's where the story gets complicated, doesn't it? Because the city paid that. You and I paid that. Miller didn't lose his house. He lost his job, sure, but the residents of Oak Haven saw their park budget slashed and their road repairs delayed to pay for one man's ego and one department's silence. Some people say Elena was too hard on the city. They say she should have taken the quiet settlement and moved on. They say that by destroying Miller's career, she made